What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another video. And I know it's been a while here on the channel, but some things have come up in my personal life and I was taking a break for a little while, but we're back. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I'm pretty passionate about. I'm pretty irritated by, and it's been really big in the gaming news space. So it's just something I kind of wanted to sit in front of the camera and talk to you guys about. So a couple days ago, Microsoft announced that they will be raising the prices on all of their electronic goods as far as controllers, headphones, consoles, and games. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, it kind of surprised me. It definitely surprised me that they're doing that. Now, I know that it's because, according to Microsoft, it has to do with the market, and I'm going to assume that it is because of the tariffs that have been put into place. But man, it's just one of those things where it's like, if Microsoft could do anything worse, this would be it. Because in my opinion, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Xbox fan. I have been since the original Xbox. I've owned every iteration or every console generation from Microsoft since the original Xbox, the 360, the Xbox One, and now a Series X. And I had bought my Series X years ago when it first came out around Thanksgiving time, I believe in 2020, 2021, I can't remember, if I'm being honest, but I've had it around since launch, so it's been a few years. And when Microsoft announced that they were going to be raising prices, and in my opinion, the most egregious one would be the console price, the Xbox Series X, going up not like $10 or $20, it's going up $100 to where the Xbox Series X is going to be like $599 plus tax, so you're looking at like $650 out the door. And if I'm being completely honest, you guys, don't get me wrong, I love my Xbox Series X. I love Game Pass, and I use it all the time. I use all my consoles all the time. I mean, the Xbox Series X, the PS5, the Nintendo Switch, my PC. I game on everything, and I wouldn't call myself a fanboy of any of them, maybe all of them. I don't know. I love console gaming. I love PC gaming. I just like gaming. But my biggest concern with what Microsoft is doing, and don't get me wrong, I understand why they're doing it. It doesn't mean I have to agree with it or think it's a good business decision, but we all know that it just feels like Microsoft doesn't give a shit about their hardware at this point. Like, everything is a Game Pass machine, right? Like, they want to be able to play, they want you to be able to play Game Pass on your refrigerator, in your Tesla, on your toaster, right? Like, they don't care about the hardware. Well, maybe not that they don't care, but it's not their main focus. But let's be honest, the PlayStation 5 has been outselling the Xbox 2-1 since launch. I mean, they've just been wiping the floor with Xbox, and Xbox really hasn't been doing that great since the Xbox One era, with Don Matrick and all that DRM and the Connect, and you always got to be on the internet. You can't share your games. You can't sell your fucking games. You're stuck with it. It was just a terrible business decision. And Don Matrick was a terrible choice to run the Xbox division. And I did believe, I had a lot of hope and a lot of faith in Phil Spencer. I loved his vision of trying to bring the brand back. I do like Game Pass. I think it's a solid bang for your buck. All the first party releases that you get day one on Game Pass has been amazing. I mean, there's been so many games that I want to try out, but I don't know if I want to spend $70 on them, on launch day. So for me, it's kind of a mixed bag, because Xbox has come out more recently with some really solid titles. Like, we all know that Bethesda, is owned by Microsoft, and Bethesda the other week dropped the Oblivion remaster as a shadow drop for $50. And if you want the deluxe edition that comes with all the little bonus content, horse armor or whatever it comes with, it's only an extra $10. So for $60 you get the deluxe edition, which is really cool. And I've been loving the Oblivion remaster, and I'm kind of late to the party. I mean, a lot of YouTubers will make these fucking videos and they'll have these game reviews out and their first thoughts on these games like really quick and really fast. That's not going to be me. I'm playing through the Oblivion remaster right now, and I plan on talking about it in a future video. But I'm around level 20 or 21. I loved Oblivion, and I think it's a really great remaster. And I think that Microsoft releasing it, at $50, which from my understanding was majority their decision over Bethesda's to do it at that price. I love it. I think that's great. I think that that's the Microsoft, that we need to see more of. But according to them, again, due to the market, they're going to be increasing games to $80. Now, from my understanding, it's not going to be games that are already out. It's going to be future upcoming games. So it's probably going to be games like, Doom, The Dark Ages, or what else is coming out this year? Shit, I don't know. Microsoft is just, for me, it's like, it's hit or miss with the exclusives or the first party games that they come out with. You never know. I heard Expedition 33 is a masterpiece. It's absolutely fantastic. Turn-based RPGs aren't necessarily my thing, but I definitely heard it's worth checking out, especially if you have Game Pass. But to know that this all kind of started, the conversation of $80 games all kind of started with Grand Theft Auto 6, what it could possibly be. Is it going to be a $100 game? And then Nintendo announces the Switch 2, and they go, well, Mario Kart World is going to be fucking $80. And we were all kind of taken back by that and kind of surprised if I'm being completely honest. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. And Nintendo is talking about, well, we're going to price our games based on the value that we feel it gives the customer, right? And, I think that Nintendo isn't the entire problem. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming this all entirely on Nintendo. It could be a number of things. It could be just the industry changing, the tariffs, Nintendo. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I think that $80 for certain games, I guess maybe could be justified. But the fact that we have Nintendo announcing Breath of the Wild with all the DLCs, it's going to be a $90 game, which is absolutely insane. And why anybody would spend $90 on Breath of the Wild 8 years after its release is beyond me, when you could just buy the Switch version, which is backwards compatible with your Switch 2, and then just pay the $10 for the 4K 60 upgrade. Or, if you're an expansion pass online member for Nintendo, it's a free upgrade. There's cheaper ways to do it. Like buy Breath of the Wild for the Switch 1 used, and then just pay the $10 upgrade. If you really give a shit about the DLC, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you already own the DLC, if the $10 upgrade will apply to that as well. I'm not necessarily sure. But the conversation here is where the fuck is the industry heading? And as of right now, I think that it's not heading anywhere good, you guys, and you can let me know down in the comments what you think about that. But raising your Xbox Series X console, your flagship console, $100, literally like 5 years after its release, is like, it feels like it's going the opposite direction. You're talking about 5-year-old hardware from its release, not necessarily the hardware itself, because it's a little older than that, because they had to come up with the design and build the thing, kind of like the original Switch. The graphics chip, the NVIDIA Tegra chip that was in the original Switch was 3 years old when the Switch was brand new. So, we're talking about hardware that's at least 5 years old. And instead of the prices coming down after 5 years, because most console lifespans are not as long as the Nintendo Switch, and most of them aren't 8 years at this point. A lot of times we'll have a midlife upgrade, like a PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X, where it could be 4K and all this cool fancy technology was added into it. And it's like, in the middle of its lifespan. But you're talking the same console after 5 years is going up $100 instead of down in price, and they're talking about future games being $80. And this is the way the industry is heading, and I absolutely think it's fucking wild to me that Xbox, who is struggling to sell physical consoles, physical hardware, is struggling to compete with companies like Sony, where Sony is outselling them, again, 2-1. We're going to raise the price $100, at least with the PlayStation 5 Pro, which I think is, again, the price for that is outrageous. But at least with the PlayStation 5 Pro, it is a hardware upgrade, right? It might be minuscule. It might not be worth the extra $150 or $200 that Sony's asking for it, but it is a hardware upgrade nonetheless. With the Series X, you're literally getting the same exact console that has been out for 5 years. Nothing is changing. Controllers are going up. Headsets are going up. The Series S is going up. The Series S, I think, is a console that held back this entire Xbox generation, if we're being honest, because studios had to develop games that could run on a less powerful console like the Series S. So I think it's a mess over at Microsoft. And again, they do some things right, like you get the Oblivion remaster for literally $50, or Expedition 33 is a masterpiece. They got a bunch of great games coming out, but it looks like moving forward, these games are going to be priced based on what Xbox considers their value to be, or how much work was put into it, or how much bang for your buck you're getting as a consumer. And I absolutely think it's fucking wild to me that we're talking about a 5-year-old console going up in price. Like, let me know down in the comments, has this ever happened where a console's been out for some years and instead of coming down in price, it's gone up? Like, I get it, the tariffs are a factor in this. Nintendo did open the floodgates with $80 games, and they brought that conversation to light alongside GTA 6. GTA 6 is going to be a $100 game. You watch, you mark my fucking words. When that game comes out in 2026, it's going to be a $100 game for the base version. If they have a deluxe version or some type of special edition, it's going to be even more. We already know that. You kind of expect that with a special edition. But the gaming industry is literally, they're out of their fucking minds, if you ask me. Now, people can make the argument that, yes, with inflation, back in the day when we were growing up, we were paying crazy money for Super Nintendo games or Nintendo 64 games, you know? I mean, fucking Chrono Trigger, I think, was like a $90 game when it came out, and that was for the Super Nintendo. You had N64 games that were $70, $80, $90 when they came out. But guys, in this economy, in this day and age, where people are struggling to buy groceries, where people are struggling to pay their bills, where we don't know day to day whether or not the economy is going to crash, whether you like Trump or dislike Trump, agree with what he's doing, disagree with what he's doing, the reality is people are struggling. And it doesn't matter what kind of argument you make for inflation. If people don't have the fucking money, they just don't have the money. And $10 might not sound like a lot to go from 70 to 80, but this is just the beginning. If they feel like they can get away with $80 games, what's stopping them in a few years to being 90, 100, 110, 120? The argument of, well, we're providing this much value and we're spending this much money on games. Nobody asked you to spend $500 million to make a fucking game to where raindrops look real falling down my character's fucking face. Like, I get it. It's nice. It looks pretty, but where's the things that people actually give a fuck about? People that actually, things that people actually care about, like the gameplay, the story, the combat, the design of the game, the art style, like those things I feel like are more important than all of these fancy little things that they put into these games to make the fidelity or to make them look nicer. Oblivion Remastered kind of proved that, where they took a game that was 20 years old and gave us something great with it. They kept the creation engine and slapped the Unreal Engine 5 over the top of it and made it look beautiful. It's still got its retro jank to it. Trust me, I mean, if you haven't played it yet, it's a fantastic game, but it's got that good old Bethesda jank, and they kept a lot of that in there. Now, if you ask me, if Microsoft was smart, because let's be honest, Microsoft has more money than God, right? They have trillions of dollars, and they could basically buy and do whatever the hell they want. They didn't need to raise their games to $80. They didn't need to. They didn't need to raise their 5-year-old flagship console, the Series X, $100 plus tax. They didn't have to do that, but they did that. And so now, in my head, it's like, well, Microsoft, you weren't selling shit anyway. You weren't selling enough consoles to compete with your competition, and now you're raising your console $100? Well, fuck, just put a nail in the coffin. Your fucking hardware is done, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong. Yeah, people will still buy it, right? But not a lot of people. Not very many people were buying Xboxes to begin with, and you really think they're going to want to go out and shell out an extra $100 to do that? People are struggling, right? Again, you could make that argument because back in the 90s, the games were more expensive back then. Because of inflation, they would be this much now. And I understand all that, and I know how all of that works, and I'm not an idiot. Trust me, I lived through the Super Nintendo era, the N64 era. My first console was a Super Nintendo. Video games have always been pretty pricey and expensive, but they're a luxury. They are not a need, right? And when people are contemplating whether or not they should keep their lights on or feed their family, put food on the table, or buy an $80 game, like that's crazy to me. $80 plus tax. Like, that's a lot of money, and that's a big ask from a lot of people. I don't think the Nintendo Switch 2, the console itself, is overpriced. I think $450 is pretty reasonable. I don't know what people thought they were going to get, for $450. I don't know why people assumed it would be $300 like the original Switch when you're talking about a console that has 4K capabilities. And you know, not every game clearly is going to run in 4K. You know, Cyberpunk on the Switch 2 doesn't run, you know, very well. I've watched people talk about it, and I've watched gameplay footage of it, and I think it runs maybe at 30 frames. And I don't even think that's at 4K, but I could be wrong. I think it's 1080p. But the point is, for $450, you're getting a 4K capable handheld console where if you compare it to things like the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally or the Lenovo Legion Go, I'm fucking tongue-tied, you know, it's not really unreasonably priced. I'm more concerned with Microsoft announcing this $100 increase on their consoles, $80 games, for a company that, you know, right now they're looking good as far as games that are coming out, but for years, man, they were buying up all these studios and not really doing dick with any of it. Where, you know, Starfield was a huge letdown. Redfall was an even bigger letdown. And I'm a huge Bethesda fan, but Starfield was dog water. I'm sorry. It was the most lackluster, boring Bethesda game I've ever played. And that is my favorite game studio of all time. It's been a really weird time in the fucking industry right now where all people want to do is play good games. If you make a good game and price it fairly, people will buy it and you will make money, right? But spending all of this money on AAA titles, hundreds of millions of dollars, and giving us things like Starfield or giving us things like, you know, Avowed, these lackluster, I'm sorry, boring as shit, cookie cutter games, people are not going to fucking buy them. You look at something like the Oblivion remaster, and it proved that a game from 20 years ago still has what it takes to compete in an industry like today. And to me, it's just a weird thing where I don't know what Microsoft is thinking with raising all these prices on literally everything. You're talking $200 for their Elite 2 controller. You're talking, they raised controllers and headsets $5 to $10 a piece. And again, most people be like, well, it's only $5, but where does it end? Where does it fucking end? And I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Are you buying the Switch 2? Do you own an Xbox? And will you ever own an Xbox at a $600 plus tax price point? Don't get me wrong, again, I love my Series X, but I bought it at a time where I was able to get it for MSRP. And now, look, the Xbox was a console that I didn't already own. The question I ask myself, would I buy it at that price point? The answer is no. I would not spend $599 on a console that was 5 years old. I would not. And honestly, I got my PlayStation 5 a little late. I was late to the party on that. I only got my PS5, not this Christmas that just passed in 2024, but 2023. I've only had it for a little while. And then the PS5 Pro comes out. I can't justify that either. $750 for a PS5 Pro? Like that for a marginal upgrade. Again, guys, the gaming industry is a weird thing. I believe in supporting your indie developers, supporting games that deserve it in these studios. Like you literally, Microsoft, you're fucking laying off people left and right. There are people laid off and studios closed down all over this goddamn earth. Yet people are making record profits. You have Microsoft, you have EA, you have all these giant organizations, all these companies and corporations that are making money hand over fist, laying off entire studios, shutting the doors for entire studios, whether their games do good or not. And then you're raising the price on everything, the games, the hardware, the controllers, in an economy that it just doesn't make fucking sense because people can't even afford to buy fucking eggs. Make it make sense. And I love video games, and I always have. I'm a big fucking nerd, right? And I always will be. But damn, man, I don't know what Microsoft is thinking. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This was a little rant video to kind of get me back into the groove of things, into making videos. And if you like videos like this, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I really want to know what you guys think down in the comments. Please let me know, because we can have future discussions on this, and I would love to talk to you guys about it. And don't forget, hit that bell for future videos and notifications. I'm on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube. I live stream on Twitch and I live stream on YouTube with my wife. Check out her channel as well. But thank you guys for listening to this old guy talk about prices and video games and how I think the industry has lost its fucking mind. Well, until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk again real soon, and happy hunting.